On blast.
Rumors are high in the NBA because there's summer league.
Speaking of rumors,
Hey, the main event is still the NBA's offseason. And you might have thought the drama was over because LeBron James signed in LA. You might have thought the drama was over because Paul George decided he was going to stay in OKC. But oh no, Kawhi Leonard is still a very big fish that is reportedly available. But that's not even the big news that's floating around right now. Tensions are getting high among Raptor fans as this Kawhi Leonard and Raptors rumors, Webby, won't go away, will they?
no. Well, there. I love the way of using betting odds to really back up your analysis. I love it. And when my phone was flooded with tweets and notifications of how the Raptors shot up Vegas's odds board of landing Kawhi Leonard.
Exactly, right? And so for the people that don't know, let's just roll through this whole thing because at first glimpse, I'm going to be honest, I was kind of like, wait, Kawhi Leonard to the Raptors? Like this kind of seems far-fetched. I don't know if to believe this. But on the flip side, just a few months ago, we were talking, John Tavares to the Leafs. Should we believe this? So basically, hey, what have I learned over the past few weeks, Webby? Anything is possible. Like a wise man.
Anything is possible.
Right? Like a wise man KG once said. But for this Kawhi Leonard to the Raptors thing, let's just go over with what we know, okay? Because there's different levels to this, and obviously a guy like Brian Windhorst who is plugged in, he's given credence to this. You know, there's also a report in the Washington Post. But let's just start from the beginning and go over what we know, right? So here's what we know for sure. Ever since the draft, there's been reports from Raptors media that something big could possibly be coming, right?
Right.
Doug Smith, again, for those who don't know, I work on a show called Tim and Sid, and we had Doug Smith on right around the NBA draft, or just before the draft, and he said that he didn't think that both Kyle and DeMar would be on the team by the time training camp rolls around.
No, hold on.
That's someone that's plugged into Raptor circles,
Does
right?
he mean that neither one or one or the other?
He said he doesn't think they both will be back, as in it'll probably be one or the other is gone.
Okay.
That's what I took away from that. Also, we have Masai Ujiri himself saying that the Raptors are open for business. Like those words came out of Masai Ujiri's mouth, right?
Right.
A follow-up from our guy at TSN, Josh Lewenberg, he also reported that the Raptors aren't necessarily shopping DeMar DeRozan and Lowry, but they are open for business.
Yeah, they're not shopping them.
All right. So we're here with this. We're here with this, right? So now let's fast forward, or let's go back to earlier this week. I guess it would have been Monday, where Tim Bontemps from the Washington Post, he wrote an article on just what's going on with this Kawhi Leonard story, because we all know that right now the Lakers and Spurs are pretty much battling over assets, right? Like, how much should the Lakers really give up for Kawhi Leonard? But he added in, and it was just a little footnote, but it doesn't take much for Raptors land to go crazy. But in his article, he wrote, quote, Raptors also generated buzz as a potential destination for Leonard. With LeBron James out of the East, perhaps Raptors president Masai Ujiri is willing to swing for the fences and move DeMar DeRozan or Kyle Lowry in such a deal. Okay? So that piqued, everyone's interest, right?
Okay,
right? So now we get into the betting odds, okay? And the site is actually Bet My Bookie, and I know that everyone's going around talking about what was it, Odds Sharks?
Oh, is that what
it is?
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
But really, they're just retweeting Bet My Bookie, and in this era of how media is transferred, right? You just get people aggregating stories,
right,
from another aggregator. But basically, BetMyBookie.com had the Raptors and Spurs at plus 200 in terms of being the favorites to land Kawhi Leonard next season. And then today, Mr. Andrew Webster, there's an update.
Got to get the latest odds. No point in betting yesterday's odds.
The latest odds were the Raptors were even money.
Wow.
They were the odds-on favorite at even money to be where Kawhi Leonard will play next season. And all this, just to throw it in, DeMar DeRozan happened to delete everything off his Instagram account and had an Instagram story that read, I lost it here. I thought I had it here, but I lost it. DeMar DeRozan's Instagram story, I'm going to Google it right now, but it was very cryptic, to say the least.
Right. Maybe some subtext in there of what he's trying to say. But listen, the only thing with deleting your whole Instagram account is we've seen this happen with players in the NBA before and with players throughout sports. I mean, I think Julio Jones of the Atlanta Falcons did the same thing.
Definitely.
And definitely caused a stir. And then it came out that it was more of a message to the new Alabama recruits coming in for this year. So deleting the Instagram like you're a 22-year-old chick, listen, that's one thing. But I'm not sure if it definitely means that DeMar's getting traded. Now,
so here's what he said. He said, and it was a very cryptic in terms of all black background, plain white font.
Right.
Says, we had some humps along the way. Now that could be bumps, or maybe it is humps. I don't know. He says, we had some humps along the way, but the reward is in the journey. I'm in my bag. # prove 'em. Again, as Webby says, this could mean nothing.
yeah.
But as we've talked about week after week, once we went from Cuffs to Legend telling us about LeBron going to LA.
He was right.
We had the whole Wes Clark saga with the Leafs and John Tavares coming to Toronto, right?
He was right.
We just provide the information. And if you decide to connect all those dots and have them mean that there's something coming in Raptors land, that's up to you. We're just providing the information and letting you draw your own conclusions. But I will say this.
My question, well, okay, yeah, you go.
What out of all of this that we just went through, what stands out to you the most? Do you think Kawhi Leonard, do you think this is a legitimate thing, Kawhi Leonard to the Raptors?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely legitimate if they're now the even odds-on favorite to land Kawhi Leonard. Now, here's the thing, though. If you are Toronto, and we've been talking about this even before Kawhi's name started circulating around with the Raptors, we both feel that the Raptors have to do something. They have to get out of either from under DeMar or Kyle, if not both. And if you're going to get out from under one of them, why not try and turn it into a immediate positive? Rather than something almost trading a DeMar for assets, draft picks, anything like that, why not try to make a big splash, bring in a star, even if it is going to be for 1 year, and use a culture change, a reset that way. And then not only that, but it's going to pay dividends. Even if Kawhi does leave after a year, you've already put it out there that Toronto is a destination. If they were to land Kawhi, I think that it would really get Toronto out under the shadow that right now the Sixers and the Celtics have over the Raptors. Because the Celtics have made these moves in the past, and all summer, since even the playoffs were going on, we've been talking about the Sixers landing a big trade target, whether it be LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, or Paul George.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. When this started coming up about Kawhi to the Raptors, I was kind of hesitant because I thought, especially when that article in the Washington Post came out, right? My first thought, honestly, was, okay, this is being floated because it really benefits everyone involved, right? So the Spurs, on their side, they're trying to get the number up from the Lakers. They want more assets. So if you put it out there that, hey, there are other teams involved that want to make moves, that can only help your case in trying to get more out of the Lakers. And from the Raptors side, if you're Masai Ujiri, this makes it look like your franchise. As you just said, Webby, you're in the game. You're trying to make big moves. You're at least in the discussion. If you don't end up with Kawhi, hey, we'll all remember, you know what? Masai was in on that conversation. He's trying to make big moves. At least he tried. If it didn't work, okay, we can accept that, but he's trying. He's not just going to trot out the same cast of characters without trying to improve the team. But the longer that this goes on, and I'm going to remove the gambling odds out of this for a second.
Okay.
When you add in Brian Windhorst to this, I think where there's smoke, there's fire, right? There's a legitimate conversation, because I don't think Brian Windhorst is just throwing things out there just for the sake of throwing things out there. Do you know what I mean? I feel like for him to be talking about this, and obviously, the more legitimate reports that come out about this tells me that Masai Ujiri is out there trying to make moves. And plus, we heard it from the man's mouth himself. The Raptors are open for business. So who knows what the Spurs are, maybe the Spurs were trying to make the move offering Kawhi to them, right? Like we don't know who might have initiated this conversation, let's say. So I think there's definitely something going on. Now, will this happen? That's a whole other discussion because I agree with you, Webby. I think if you're the Raptors and you can pull this off, it is worth the risk. And I would prefer to give up Kyle Lowry than DeMar DeRozan, but at the end of the day, you got to think about it. Kawhi is what, a top 5 player in the NBA?
When healthy.
When healthy, top 5 player in the NBA, right? And you might be thinking, is it worth it just to get 1 year out of Kawhi Leonard, right? But here's the thing. If you're the Toronto Raptors, you're not used to signing big name free agents, right? You're not even used to getting meetings with big time free agents. Remember, it was a big deal when they got a meeting with LaMarcus Aldridge. Yes. Remember when they got the meeting with LaMarcus Aldridge? That was considered to be a big deal. So if you think about it, what's the better move here if you're Masai Ujiri and you're trying to make a pitch when you struggle to get into the room with a lot of these big time superstars? Well, you would have a year-long pitch meeting, right? If you make the trade and acquire Kawhi Leonard, that's giving you a full year to bet on your franchise, to make that pitch from your whole organization, top down, even into the fan base, to say, hey, you should come here. This is what it's like playing for this team. This is what our organization is like. This is what our city's like. More importantly, this is what our fan base is like. And if you're a top 5 dude, this fan base will love you. And I think if you can make that move in acquiring a top 5 level talent, you have to take that chance if you're the Toronto Raptors, because how else do you get that talent into Toronto? You'd have to draft it, and we know how difficult that is, right?
You're absolutely right. The other thing is you've got a model for this successfully working out for your team in Oklahoma City.
What was the line? What was the line, Webby?
What? Oh, the line, scare money don't make none.
Exactly, right?
You know?
Shout out to Sam Presti. Sorry, I just had to get that in. But
go on. Absolutely. So that's but I mean that's the thing. You've seen this happen. Now, can you bring in even if it does go south? I still think, like I say, like you're saying, to make this move happen and have this go right for the Raptors puts you on, I think, level playing field as the rest of the league sees you with the Sixers and the Celtics.
Yeah, and again, think about how else do you get top-level talent in the NBA? You have to draft it, or you're getting a free agent signing, right? The Raptors can't get who's the biggest free agent the Raptors have ever signed?
Hedo Turkoglu.
Right? So, and an old-ass Hakeem Olajuwon. Yeah. So you can't rely on free agency. You can barely get a meeting. It's not like you got a meeting with LeBron James. You wouldn't get a meeting with even Paul George. You probably wouldn't get a meeting with Kawhi Leonard. So how else do you get a meeting with Kawhi Leonard? You trade him. And now your pitch meeting lasts a full year.
Now, the only thing that I would say, though, is that if this backfires and you don't get him, then you're now losing DeMar and or Kyle. You're not going to re-sign them. Yeah, and I think that even this conversation and the way that it's circulated around Toronto media, now it's become a story in Raptorland. This is now, and like you see, we're talking about DeMar DeRozan's Instagram post, and I'm sure we're going to be dissecting his Instagram post in perpetuity if this doesn't happen. Because his emotional well-being is now going to be something that's on the front of the mind of every Raptors fan.
No, you're totally right, Webby, and you're right. There is a huge risk in all this, right? But at the end of the day, after this upcoming season, Kyle Lowry and Serge Ibaka are basically going to be expiring contracts, right? I don't think they're going to be at the level that's worth what the money value is of their contract, right? Is Kyle Lowry going to be worth 31? I mean, is Kyle Lowry worth $30 million this upcoming season? I don't think so. But then add that to another year, right? So if you can get out of that contract now, you take that chance. That's worth the risk of 1 year of trying to keep Kawhi Leonard. I think you make that move if we're talking about trading away Kyle Lowry and whatever other assets. Now, DeMar DeRozan, that's where I kind of stall on this whole thing, right? If there's one moment where I paused in this whole thing, it was seeing someone for the Bleacher Report put out a potential trade offer, right? That consisted of, I think it was DeMar DeRozan, Pascal Siakam, who was it? Pascal Siakam OG draft picks for Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green, basically to fill up and make the salaries work, right?
Oh,
Yeah. So if you look at a deal like that, where you're giving up you're getting Danny Green, Kawhi Leonard for DeMar, OG, Pascal, and picks for that 1 year, that's tough because
that is tough.
you're walking away from DeMar, who is the only like star to re-sign with your team multiple times and long term, the face of your franchise, right? Arguably the best player in franchise history. You basically need Kawhi Leonard to re-sign, right? Like that's a tough L to take if Kawhi doesn't re-sign. I understand the risk, but that's a tough risk to take with the arguably the biggest franchise player that you've ever had in your history. Again, if it's Kyle, I take that chance and I basically say you can have Kyle and whatever else on the roster that's not DeMar and picks. I'll take my 1 year chance of trying to pitch Kawhi Leonard. Let's do this. That would be my offer.
Here's my thing: is that if you bring in Kawhi Leonard, you're not the favorite in the East?
No, but you know what? I'm confident. I'm confident, a lot more
You don't even
confident
know he
going
can
up against.
play.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, Webby. If you tell me you traded away Kyle, right, and so your wings are now, you trade Kyle and OG, let's say, and your wings are DeMar and Kawhi Leonard. You're starting Fred VanVleet at point guard now, right, with DeLon as
Bringing
a backup.
DeLon off the bench, yeah.
I mean, I'm okay with that perimeter unit going forward. You know what I mean? And I know I don't think it's better than the Celtics. I don't think you're better than the Sixers. But after that, I'll take that chance because, again, Kawhi Leonard, when healthy, you could be talking about the best player in the Eastern Conference, no?
Listen, my only problem here is that with what the Spurs are looking for from the Lakers for Kawhi, I'd be really hesitant that you're going to give up too much.
Yeah.
And if that's what was floated, what you gave me with, what was it,
DeMar, OG, and DeMar, OG, and Pascal Siakam.
And picks?
And picks, yeah.
Yeah, that's tough for Danny Green and 1 year of Kawhi who's on a bum leg.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know what you are doing in that instance, Webby? You're banking on the fact that hopefully, much like what happened with the Paul George situation. Remember, because the Paul George situation, Indiana was hell-bent on not sending him to the Cavs. They didn't want to send him to the Cavs. They didn't want to send him to the Eastern Conference. And so when the offer came up from OKC, they jumped on it. They were happy with the haul, but they probably could have done better, but they were so just focused on getting him out of the Eastern Conference. So if you're the Raptors, maybe you just you sit back and hope that the Spurs are kind of feeling the same type of vibe where they're more interested in getting Kawhi Leonard out of the West, and they don't want to see him on the Lakers because that's been one of their rivals forever, as we know. And, hopefully that's a thing where the Raptors can take advantage of that situation, and maybe you don't have to give up as much as the Lakers did. And I know I don't want to get too far into this, like, hypothetical to get Raptor fans too hype, or maybe we're already there because people are buying into the betting odds. And something I wanted to mention about the betting odds, Webby, okay? People unfamiliar with how gambling works, the gambling odds are not based off what's most likely to happen. The gambling odds are the gambling odds are based upon where they can get money on either side of the bet, right? So if the line was at plus 200, that could just mean that a lot of people started betting on the Raptors, and so they moved the line down to even money. It doesn't mean that, more information came out, there's more rumors floating, now, they have some inside source that tells them the Raptors are close to getting Kawhi. That's not what it means that the line went from plus 200 to even money. It just means they started taking a whole lot more bets on the Raptors at plus 200, so they moved it down to even money. Does that make sense?
It makes sense to me.
Because I don't know if people understand that. I think people just think like, Vegas knows something. And it's like, that's not yes, but that's not necessarily how gambling lines move.
Right.
But yeah, I just went to double check what my guy here, Tyler Conway, wrote in the Bleacher Report. He said the likeliest potential trade package would send DeMar DeRozan, OG, And Jakob Pertl, sorry, I messed that up. I said Siakam. So he said it would be DeMar DeRozan, OG, Jakob Pertl, along with a pick to San Antonio for
It's
Kawhi
basically
Leonard and Danny Green.
one or the other. They're both. That's the thing.
I'd rather
it's tough
keep Pascal than Pertl, but that's just me.
It's tough to break those two up because I find that they play very complementary.
Well, I'd rather keep Siakam because that means less Serge Ibaka.
Yeah, I feel that Pirtle's got a little more offense to him than Siakam does.
True. Very true. I will not argue that point, Webby. I will not argue that point. And
if you bring in Kawhi, see, I'm also worried about the leg. How confident are you in the calf muscle of Kawhi Leonard?
I really think that he was sour, because you wonder about that, right, in the injury. But I think that the way that this all is played out, obviously you're going to do your medical background checks and all that stuff before you make this deal, right? But I'll say this. One of the things that came out was that the Kawhi Leonard and his camp were really upset with how the Spurs kind of threw him under the bus while he was working his way back from injury, right? And rightly or wrongly, they were spurned by that. And I feel like that played a lot more of a factor in his ill-fated attempts to come back, if that makes sense, or his unwillingness to even be around the team come postseason.
Right.
The fact that it leaked into the media that Tony Parker and Manu had that meeting where they basically called out Kawhi Leonard, the fact that that leaked into the media, Kawhi Leonard didn't really like that. Him and his camp didn't like that, and that was really one of the things that bothered them. And that could be why we're at this position where he might not go back. The other thing, too, did you see how USA Basketball announced, their big list for a training camp that's coming up in Vegas? And Kawhi Leonard is on it. And you know who the head coach is?
It's Pop.
Greg Popovich. So this story isn't going anywhere anytime soon.
So here's my other thing about Kawhi joining the Raptors. Mm-hmm. Is that in his career in San Antonio, he's had such not a rigid, but such a structure to his basketball life in terms of from basically the top on down. He comes to Toronto. And obviously he's now a little bit infamous about having this unit behind him in terms of family, friends, this group of people.
Yeah.
With a new coach, a young team, are you at all worried that Kawhi could come in and run the show?
Here's the thing, right? So it's a perfect test for what Masai Ujiri has been preaching to us for the past 5 years about them trying to build this program, right? And you mentioned
it doesn't seem like it would be a program anymore if Kawhi is allowed to come in and honestly hold the power of the situation there, because he knows that he's got the Raptors kind of over the barrel with what they give up for him and the fact that he's only there potentially for a year.
Someone today made the comment earlier about could Kawhi's uncle be asking for Vince Carter's mom's parking spot. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's an interesting scenario. It definitely is, right? And I think that, I know this sounds super simplistic, but if you ball out, yo, man, you could have whatever you want.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
You're right.
I mean, sometimes sports really becomes that simple, right? And Vince was allowed for a while to get away with whatever he wanted to because he was balling. His mom was allowed to have the parking spot because he was balling. Once the injury started to come, once, the lackadaisical defense became a thing, the whining became a thing, and your production was down, more importantly, then people started
walking.
to get... Yeah, then
mom's
people started to
TTC.
call that stuff out.
TTC. Mom's taking the Red Rocket to the game because she doesn't have a parking spot.
Right, but I know it sounds simplistic, but if Kawhi Leonard comes here and balls out and his uncle wants Drake seats, yo, man, Drake, sorry, but whoever sits beside you, you can still have your seat, but that second ticket now belongs to Kawhi's uncle.
Yo,
These are just the facts.
Kawhi's uncle's going to get producing credits on the new album.
Are you in on the Raptors? Just to wrap this up altogether, though,
am I in on the move?
Are you in on the Raptors trying to get Kawhi Leonard?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I am.
Taking the chance.
Like I say, the rest of the last thing you want is this window of you being able to possibly make an NBA Finals without LeBron in your conference. You don't want that window to shut on you. And we've been talking about it since the end of the season. They need to do something because the Sixers are trying to do things, and the Celtics have already done them. And getting Gordon Hayward back is going to be like adding a big piece to them.
No, I totally agree with you, Webby, and I can't lie. I feel like I've shifted my thought process here. At first, I didn't really want to give up DeMar DeRozan to get Kawhi Leonard because I felt like you would still need other pieces to surround Kawhi with, and having the two all-stars of Kawhi and DeMar, that is your best case scenario if you're the Raptors. But I'll say if DeMar DeRozan is what's standing in front of you getting someone who, when healthy, is a top 5 player in the league, someone who's won finals MVP, someone who's gone head to head against LeBron and not cowered in the moment year after year in the postseason, as we've seen this current Raptors stars have done.
A champion.
Right? We watch Kawhi go at LeBron and LeBron go at Kawhi, and neither of them back down, right? Like, we've seen that happen. So if DeMar DeRozan's what's standing in your way of getting a season-long pitch meeting to get a top 5 talent in the league, you got to do it at the end of the day. Whatever it takes, bring in Kawhi Leonard, take your shot for 1 year, and, hey, figure out another way that you can trade or upgrade and get another star in and flip this around. And hey, man, maybe I'm just hype off the OKC magic that scared money don't make no money, but
you never know, right?
You never know.
know.